part of the reason she chose that song was because there is a hero that lies within you, but gratefully for many of us, there's probably a hero sitting next to you today. And tomorrow is the national observance of Veterans Day. By the way, it's always on November 11th, no matter what day of the week it happens, which is something I really respect. It's not, they don't shove it to a Monday just so you can have a day off, that there's a respect for the veterans. And as a kid, I remember my grandmother would always take, wherever we went out, and she used to buy a poppy. And she would buy me a little poppy. I had no clue what the heck that meant at the time, but I couldn't find any poppies, so at least I'm trying to wear a little bit of a patriotic approach for the veterans. This nation will remain the land of the free only so long as it is the home of the brave, says Elmer Davis. And we often take for granted the very things that most deserve our gratitude, Cynthia Ozick. And I think that this morning is an opportunity for us to thank veterans. And again, in my childlike thing when I was little, I'd never understood the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. And maybe you know that, but the difference is Veterans Day today is really about honoring those who have served and are still here to talk about it, still here for us to support and pray and love and give gratitude for what they have done, whereas in addition, Memorial Days are for those who have served and are no longer with us. So what I would like right now is if the veterans in this room would please stand up and please remain standing so that we may love you for a moment. Please standing. Stay standing for a second, because truly this is about honoring the fact that you are still here with us, that you have served, that you gave of yourself at great risk for all of us. And it's just an opportunity. So what I'd like for us to do now, and I'm including my husband in the back because I'm mighty grateful that he came home. I'd like you to just take a moment and just put out your hands. Now, I know they're all around you, so just put your hands up because we're just sending out vibrations. And I'd like you to take just a moment in silence and surround not only the veterans in our community, our room, and our families, but around the world right now to thank them. And just send a prayer and a blessing, please, for a moment. Thank you for your service and your bravery. We salute you. So we continue with the theme for the month, as Drenya was talking about, is homecoming. We have a lot of home. And what I want to do is I want to start with reading something from Dr. Ernest Holmes. We've had it on our program somewhere along the line. It's a wonderful prayer that he has at the opening of the textbook, by the way. It's, "Peace be unto thee, stranger. Peace be unto thee, stranger. Enter and be not afraid. I have left the gate open, and thou art welcome to my home. There is room in my house for all. I have swept the hearth and lighted the fire. The room is warm and cheerful, and you will find comfort and rest within. The table is laid, and the fruits of life are spread before thee. The wine is also here, and it sparkles in the light. I have set a chair for you where the sunbeams dance through the shade. Sit and rest and refresh your soul. Eat of the fruit and drink of the wine. All is yours, and you are welcome." And I believe that that's a perfect opportunity to connect with what we do here, not only at Chico New Thought Center, but in Centers for Spiritual Living. It's really about peace be unto thee, stranger, whether you're a stranger for the first time walking in the doors today, or a stranger because you come here, behold, I make all things new, and you've been coming here for 20 plus years. And for those of you who are new or haven't been involved in the last weekend was our homecoming weekend, of which Drenya spoke, and it was awesome because it carried so much within it. You know, we had the rock and roll dancing on Friday night, and then we had the pray-a-thon on Saturday with the practitioners, and then Sunday morning was a very unique and special service to honor our 30th anniversary here. And what Drenya was talking about was I had the privilege and the support and patience of the choir to allow me to sing with them on Sunday morning. And it was so interesting because Saturday night, there was that little tickle, and I was like, Sunday morning, I woke up and I went, oh, really? You really want to do this today? I've been working on this for months. You're as healthy as all get out. And I knew it had nothing to do with any germ on the planet. I knew what it was about. And managed to squeak through the song at the top. And then by the end of service, then my whole body just went, you know. It began to deal with what most people on the outside would think was a cold or flu or the croup or whatever it was. And what I knew was that it was 5 years in the making and time to release and process a 5-year journey, which actually brought us to this homecoming. And though when I chose the song Home, that the choir so beautifully sang, I chose it thinking this was to say to you, you're not alone, this place is your home, welcome back, do all that. And I did not realize until after this weekend that song wasn't for you, it was for me. Which made sense then as I started to process that. And for those of you who didn't know, that the week before homecoming, I went, air quotes, home to San Diego to assist in an ordination of one of my cubs, one of the practitioners from the Pacific Church, and to see friends, and to speak at the Temecula Church, and to do all of that. And so for me, and that was a loaded trip, emotionally, physically, etc. And so I came from that vibrational thing of being in San Diego and going, whoa, what's all that about? And to walk in and to do the homecoming here. So this week, my body has been showing up like this, being a little less than, stellar, I suppose you'd say. And Christian Morgenstern said, home is not where you live, but where they understand you. Hi, honey, I'm home. So here I am moving through this process that looks like I'm sick out here, and sick is a shorthand. And this weekend we had an opportunity that I thought was a great metaphor for what I seem to be doing. Although this is yogi tea for my throat this morning, some of you know, and if you don't, I'm kind of a coffee person. And we have a Katie Keurig machine at home that makes those little individual cups of coffee, so you can have any type of coffee you want anytime you want. And Katie decided to go on the fritz a couple days ago. Not happy. We were not happy. I was a snarkosaurus. It's like, excuse me? Hello? Those of you who keep telling me not to go to that other establishment for coffee, I'm trying to have it at home. Anyway, it wouldn't work. So I decided, all right, you have to take the time and the patience to read the manual. So I'm reading the manual, and I'm cleaning this whole thing and everything, and I do clean and take care of my coffee maker because I love my coffee maker. And then you get to the part, nothing was working. It just would, it's like, okay, this is not acceptable. So then it has a process in the manual called descaling. Yes. And what you do with descaling is this humongous filtering process with white cider vinegar, which is like, okay, fine. And you have to brew several pots with the vinegar, and then you have to brew several pots with the water, and you're well, I'm here to say that Katie is working. I'm a happy camper. And what I realized was that was kind of what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks, is descaling, clearing out, cleaning the filter, the plug, getting rid of all the residue and the calcium deposits, which for the machine was hard water deposits, and for me was a hard journey deposits, and getting through that. And I realized that it's this thing, and I was listening to Reverend Terry's meditation this morning, which if you missed, I'm going to get the reading from her. We're going to find a place to put it. Really was important, and I got my aha. So you get to have it. This is like live. Nobody's done this before, and it's going to go viral, if you excuse the pun. YouTube. Okay, so I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking, all right, yeah, how do I explain to the congregation that I've been sick? Because sometimes people go, how can you be sick? You're a religious science minister. You know everything. You're supposed to, prayer works. Well, prayer does work, by the way, and it has been working, and treatment has been working, and I'm making all kinds of noises. Okay, because this really was hot off the press. Yeah, would you? I'd like to introduce you to Vanna. Shanavana? Okay, so what I got in meditation this morning, because I was thinking about being sick is an acronym for surrender into conscious knowing. Amen is right. Really, God just gave that to me today, this morning, half an hour ago. Thank you. That's all. I just needed you to see that idea. Because, wait. Come in. Did the camera come in? Let's have the camera. Lower, Sharon. How about, is it lower? Okay. All right. Thank you, Sharon. So, so what I got, and it almost changes my entire talk for today. I haven't even decided how I'm going to do this, the thrust, but because when I had that aha, because many of us, when we get sick, air quotes, besides not feeling great physically not feeling great, we feel emotionally or psychologically a little guilty, especially if you're a religious scientist, because people can sometimes look at you and go, oh yeah, what's in your thinking? Why are you sick? Yo, congestion. Oh, must be cluttered in your life. Oh, something, all the stuff people give you. It becomes an opportunity for everybody to recite Louise Hay's book to you. And please understand, Louise Hay's book was one of the seminal books that got me into this teaching, so I have great respect for that. But you know what it's like when you're sick or you're hurting and you're whatevering, and someone comes up to you and wants to, sermonize you about something, it's the last thing you want to hear. It's like, thank you for sharing. And then when you get to be seasoned at this, you don't even have to have outside people doing that for you, because you have a voice inside here going, doing the whole thing. This time, this is why I know it's big, this time when I got, air quotes, sick this week, I knew what it was coming from. As I said, I knew it was coming from the emotional thing of going to San Diego, coming back and coming home and doing all this. I knew what it was all about. So I didn't get angry with myself. I didn't pick on myself. I wasn't judging myself. Well, okay, there was one day. It was like, aren't you done yet? I mean, if you got the insight, why isn't it over? And yet I have to remember that the body is a dense thing, and it doesn't release as quickly as the mind. That's what we talk about in healing. It's about a conscious change. Do you get healed immediately? Yes, you do. And sometimes it takes the body temple that much time to catch up. And so what I want to share with that about being sick is I want you guys to give yourselves the grace to have that process, not to judge it. If there is a sickness, something. Remember, we talk about a lot in this teaching, disease. We never say disease. We, religious scientists, we know better, and we're word people. We say dis-ease, which is really the root of the word dis-ease, meaning not, and ease. So your body is not at ease for whatever reason, so you were having a dis-ease at the moment. And if you are sick, what I'd like you to think about is, okay, maybe you have to think about, well, I shouldn't be staying up till 4 a.m. and eating pork rinds and chocolate and sugar and coffee. Okay, whatever it is. Maybe you do need to look at your health patterns. Okay, I'm not saying that isn't possible, but mostly what I want you to do is cut yourself some slack and think about the fact that if your body is demonstrating dis-ease, discomfort, or sickness, that it's usually a process. It's trying to get your attention about something internal. It's really rarely about external. So when we get sick, maybe it's a chance to get still and quiet, which is what I did Sunday when I went home after we cut the cake, and it was like, party. I just went home, got in my jammies and my robe and stared. It was like, took a little nap and stared some more. Maybe it's about being still enough to listen to what's going on inside and S, surrender, I, into, C, conscious knowing about who you are, what's going on, what this is all about. What, for me, it was, what did this whole 2-week cycle mean? I knew I couldn't just ignore the trip to San Diego. It wasn't just a business trip to San Diego. I knew that this 30-year anniversary coupled with my 5th anniversary here was not just a, thing. I knew that what took place with the choir that morning, and me, was significant. There was a shift that happened. And I know, and if you weren't here and you want to listen to the audio, I know that when Dr. Carolyn stood up here on Sunday morning and we surrounded her with love, respect, and gratitude for all that she had done to get us to this point for the 25 years, that something shifted. Huge. And I also know that, and I've said it to somewhat publicly, but I've said it to the clients and students and people in my study groups, etc., that many of you, most of you, have been going through some sort of stuff, that there has been stuff up in your face, whether it's physical or emotional or both, and that you've been just kind of plowing your way through, going, what is all of this? It's like, felt like an asteroid shower, coming at you, and you're trying to deflect it, going this way, and dance and stay in balance with the oneness. And it's like, whoa, when will that stop? And then we came to this humongous crescendo last Sunday. And with any giant crescendo or any of that, then there's that has to happen. And we do ourselves a service if we allow that to happen. And I did the best I could to do that this week in the midst of work, talk, class, blah, blah, all the stuff of life that we each have, and yet still to allow that. And it's been an extraordinary dance, balance. It's awesome. So, as I said, my whole talk has changed because I've been sick. I have been surrendering into conscious knowing, surrendering inside, consciously knowing who I am, why I am, remembering who I am. And then comes the next bit, which sometimes can even be more knee-knocking, knobbly. The now what? I think that was looming large behind me this week with, we went through all this hoopla, and we're celebration, and aren't we wondrous? And we are, And then it's like, okay, now what? Any minute I have to stop smiling, put my arms down, and get back to work. Well, what are we going to do? And there was an edge to that for me. There was an anxiety about, what are we going to do? We've got this big vision, and there's so much moving through me, as I'm sure it is through you. It's like, this, I'd like to do this, and this, and this, and oh, look what's possible, and all the new things that are starting to take place in this center with being of service. And I was like, and then it got so big that it probably is what created the new stuff. I went, even more, and poor Don got, it's like, okay, honey, go to the guest room. Because I'm up all night processing, releasing, being sick. And it's sometimes being sick, air quote sick again, I'm saying that for the sake of the audio tape, being sick is a difficult process when the people around you have to kind of witness or participate or, and it's not about germs. It's really about the opportunity to become still, to know within. Let me see what the heck I wanted to talk about. Well, yeah. Oh, listen to all of you. You know what that's like. You're sitting there and you're trying not to cough. And of course, trying not to cough, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And then when you do cough, and then it coughs forever. Anyway, all right. I talked about prayer. I talked about spiritual mind treatments. And what I want you to know, I remind you that for the past 21 days, our licensed practitioners have been praying for each of our members, including the newbies. You didn't get excluded. We've been praying for them. Everybody got a sheet of paper with, between 9 and 12 names. And so you have been, individually, in one of our licensed practitioners' spiritual practice every day for 21 days. So some of you might say, well, how come you sound so sick then, Duchess? And I say, prayer worked. I'm clearing, I'm releasing, I'm moving into conscious knowing. And as I said, if those of you who have been dealing with the asteroid shower in your lives lately, that's about prayer working too, to get through this stuff so that we can be here. And home interprets heaven. Home is heaven for beginners. Charles Parkhurst. Oh, isn't that cool? We teach that heaven is a state of mind. And so if it's a state of mind, then the first place we got to get our state of mind cleaned and ready is our home, our external home and our home. And so I want to thank the practitioners for their dedication and their work here. And we would love to hear testimonials, or I'd love to have reports. You can do it anonymously, or you can give us your name and say, well, those 21 days, and I had no idea. And there was this shift, and I'm looking at somebody sitting in the back row who I did not expect to see this Sunday, our homecoming queen, Linda George, surgery in, out, bada bing, and is here. You rock, and I'm very grateful that there's that support, but I am so impressed with you. I'm texting Robin, getting updates on the surgery and all this, and the next day, and then she's like, well, she's doing better, and she might go home tomorrow. I went, oh, okay, so now I'm deciding, do I go to the hospital because I sound like this, and do I want to breathe, and then I get a text, she's home. It's like, I didn't even get there. I didn't even get to go and, put on the pastoral gear, and how are you, my child? She's like, practicing this stuff completely. And that's what we get to do. Yes, things happen. Yes, we get the croup. I don't know. What is the croup? But I remember being a little kid, that was the croup. Whatever that is. And now it's from the last, thank you. Okay, so I'm dating myself again, eh? You know me, I love words from back then. My past life, I had the croup. I don't know. So you get the croup, you get a bug, you have surgery. There are things that do happen to us in our lives, in our bodies. And we get to deal with it from surrendering into conscious knowing of who we are. And our body temple being an expression of that. I know that I had something else in here. Yes. Oh, well, before I get into that. I feel like I should have a chair. It's like, thanks for coming over, you guys. It was like fireside chat with Rev Duchess. Oh, that would be fun. I'm telling you, ideas are popping in my head like popcorn lately. I have so many notes and notebooks around with stuff with these ideas. Poor Amy is running away. It's like, no more. There's so much to do. And I have so many things that I want to engage the new members in, what we get to do and be of service. And I'm wondering if there's anyone here who has a brief testimonial about the last 21 days. Is there somebody here who wants to share? Anything? Shy. Oh, Linda George. Carl, can you crank up the handheld for me? Because I'm not asking her to step up here, but... Are we on, Carl? Madam?
We match.
We do match. In many more ways than one.
My main concern for my surgery was the hour of the time was to be at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, who wants to have surgery at 4 in the afternoon? I'm tired, the surgeon's tired, the anesthesiologist is tired. So I thought, well, they said they couldn't change my time. I thought, all right, you can't change it, God will change it for me. So I came to Rev Duchess and I talked with several of the practitioners, and I think probably half the room, and I said, I need to have a good outcome, but I also need my time changed. The day before, my time was changed to 1:30, which is perfect time for me. You've had lunch, you're feeling really good about everything, and everything went well. So I thank you all for your good thoughts. It really worked. Prayer treatment.
Thank you, Linda. But what you need to hear with that is, yes, we shifted and we did prayer work and there was consciousness. And what I like to tell people, you have to remember that you need to be a receptive vessel for the willingness to accept the prayer. It's not just here, do this for me, make it happen, and you go away. You need to be a part of your healing, which is what's taking place with Warren right now, by the way. Because, interestingly enough, Warren had all these surgeries, all these things, and then he ended up in a hospital in San Francisco, and now he's in a nursing facility in San Francisco, and which is, really difficult to go and visit. So he has to step up to engaging in his own healing process. I mean, he's being literally charged to do that as well as spiritually charged to do that. And when he started to do that is when this turn started to happen and he started to feel better and he's getting better. And all these cards are going to be going to him. His daughter's coming down next Saturday to take him and he's cleared and they can take Leon to see him. Yes. Leon is his dog, which means the world to him. So seeing Leon, getting your cards, the banner, and your prayers means the world. So he gets to do that, but he, much like Linda, has to participate. There has to be a readiness and a willingness to be, a part of your healing. So I was talking about you clearing this out and the congestion, you have to be a part of it. And there was a really interesting quote from William Morris, who in my past life was a very big agent in Hollywood, but I don't think that's who wrote this. William Morris writes, if you want a golden rule that will fit everything, this is it. Drum roll. Have nothing in your houses that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful. Oh, I know my design team is like smiling right now. I can't see you in these lights, but I know they're smiling. Have nothing in your houses that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful. And yes, that means our beautiful sanctuary that we continue to embellish and embrace and beautify and shift. But I got to tell you, that talks about this house, your house, the house that contains your soul, your vehicle. It's kind of like your little RV. You get to go around all day. You drive and you park and you cruise through life. You're your own RV. But it's this house that you need to pay attention to. It's this house where you need to get rid of the clutter, the congestion, the excess stuff, etc., and begin to beautify. And I don't mean that just necessarily in an accessorized sense. I mean that to beautify means to love it, to embrace it, to adorn it, to start to love this vehicle. Even in the middle of, when you don't feel like you want to love your vehicle. That's when you have to do it now. And that's what we're doing here. And then one of the students in the Prac 2 class, Dr. Johnny Samples, brought a poem for class that I thought was perfect. It's a poem, a reading that I want you to hear. Now, for a second, just go ahead and close your eyes if that works for you, because I'd just like you to listen to it sort of, It's called Self-Observation Without Judgment. Ha ha. It's by Dana Faulds, Faulds. She writes, release the harsh and pointed inner voice. It's just a throwback to the past and holds no truth about this moment. Let go of self-judgment, the learned ways of beating yourself up for every imagined inadequacy. Allow the dialogue within the mind to grow friendlier and quiet. Shift out of inner criticism and life suddenly looks very different. I can say this only because I make the choice 100 times a day to release the voice that refuses to acknowledge the real me. What's needed here isn't more prodding toward perfection, but intimacy, seeing clearly and embracing what I see. Love, not judgment, sows the seeds of tranquility and change. Wow. I don't know about you, but that's like somebody, talking to me in my ear. And that's what it has felt like. And that's what happily I can say, I'm actually beyond that now. But when I first heard that, that really encompasses that. We're moving beyond this old stuff and the judgment and what do we do and the harsh inner voice and the criticism and the asteroid shower. And then we begin, now I talk about now what? Now we begin to clear out what does not serve or what is not beautiful and joyous to us. And then we allow Spirit to reveal to and through us what is our next charge. Sometimes our next charge is to simply just be here. And maybe the next charge after that is to step into service. And the next charge after that, etc. But we don't know what it is, and it isn't about a mind thing, a small m mind thing. It's about what would we do with this time. And now, speaking about what we would do, you all remember the campaign WWJD, right? And I did a talk years ago about WWED, what would Ernest do? Well, the Vatican, in honor of the first year of Pope Francis, they wanted to put out a gold coin to honor him, to honor a phrase from, I think it is Gospel of Matthew, that he heard when he was 17, which called him into this line of work, to being a priest. And I'm not going to read you the Latin version, but it's basically, it says, therefore Jesus sees the tax collector, and since he sees by having mercy and by choosing, he says to him, follow me. And when Pope Benedict heard that, that's what he heard, was follow me. So a part of this campaign for the Vatican was to honor that. However, there is no letter J in Latin, and so we now have the new Lysis movement. And the Vatican printed about 6,000 coins that now have L-E-S-U-S, not Jesus. So they've minted a coin that says that, and now, social media is now blaming the Lesuits and wondering, what would Lysis do, L-E-S-U-S, because there is no J, and they misspelled Jesus' name on these coins. So if you think you had a bad day, can you imagine being in the Vatican trying, Your High Holiness? I'm sure he seems like such a wonderful man. I'm sure you got a great kick out of that. But the idea being is, what would Lysis do? Well, I don't know. Maybe you could say that to yourself, to make you laugh and bring you into present time, because I don't know, what would Lysis do? I'm not even sure what Jesus would do. What is important is what I do. What is important is what me, that which I am, does with God through me. But I just thought that was pretty funny. And so they said out of the 6,000 of the Lysis medals that were retrieved, 3 or 4 got actually sold. And can you imagine in about a year on eBay what that's going for? So what would Lysis do? I don't know. But by being sometimes sick and having that surrender into conscious knowing, you might be able to find out what you would do, what you're being called to do. And there is a very, 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 very old phrase that all of us grew up with: home is where the heart is. I don't think there's anyone in this room who hasn't heard that one. Is that correct? I'm not the only one ancient. But did you know who wrote it? No. Thank you, Tanya. Ooh, but I'm bumped. Pliny the Elder. P-L-I-N-Y. Pliny the Elder. And there actually was Pliny the Junior, by the way, but we won't go there. Much like Dr. Ernest's Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life, that has become handed down and in so many variations since then, and he was the originating force. Pliny the Elder was the Roman authority. He was a scientist. He was an aristocrat. He was, this big dude back then. And he came up with home is where the heart is. And so we've heard that a gazillion times. And sometimes it makes us smile, and sometimes like, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like saying, have a good day. You hear it ad nauseum. And yet, what Lysis would do is know that home is where the heart is. So where you place your heart, your intention, your passion, your love, is where your home is. It is not about your geographical address. It is not necessarily about the walls that contain us in the service. It is about being at home in the heart of God that you are, returning to that from whence you came. Home is where the heart is. So now what I'd like to do, and I'm going to ask you to close your eyes again, I'm going to close this out with another poem that the other practitioner student, Randy Tankoff, brought to us to class this week that I thought was perfect for us to close out. This is a poem by Derek Walcott. The time will come when with elation you will greet yourself arriving at your own door in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, sit here, eat. You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all of your life, whom you ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit, feast on your life. Honey, I'm home. Please take those tender words and invitation into your heart now. As we move into prayer. As is my custom, I like to do our closing prayer, the spiritual mind treatment, in first person so that you get to say it along with me. So it's not me saying it at you or for you. I recognize and know, affirm that there is only the one life, capital L, life. That is the life of God. Call it what you will, God, the force, spirit, infinite intelligence. I am one with that and more. I am one with all of these gifts and peoples and things that are externally representing God. I know that I'm one with the sky and the trees and the animals and clear, pure water and the ability to have my 5 senses, the ability to be physically present as a blessing in this lifetime. I know that God moves in and through and as me. I know that God has been patiently walking this journey with me, standing there on that other side of the mirror, waiting for me to recognize itself as me. And so this time, I take down the love letters that God has sent, the wisdom from the bookshelves, the photographs, the desperate notes, the loving reminders. And I begin to bask in the beauty of this homecoming, to come home to one's self. One, capital O, one's self. And whatever dis-ease or sickness that may have been part of my life or is facing me today, I now sit in the stillness with that, take it into conscious knowing that there is that life, and that life of God is my life, and that can activate, energize every single cell and atom in my body temple. And then as I do that, I move into that activity of God, into my mind, into my thoughts, into my thinking and my behavior, so that there is no longer anything or anyone that stands in the way of my knowing that. There is no longer anything or anyone that serves the idea of duality or separation, so that when I look into the mirror of life, I see God. I see God looking back at me and me looking back at God, and it becomes that wonderful kind of cosmic thing where you see into the mirror behind the mirror behind the mirror, and you recognize yourself, capital S. And you say, welcome home. Welcome home. I have cleared the hearth. I have prepared the way. Peace be unto thee, no longer a stranger. That is my prayer today. Peace be unto me, for I am no longer a stranger, and I know that I am home in the heart of God, here, now, and always. How perfect in this month of gratitude that I may now be so full of thanksgiving that I may say this and know this from within that conscious knowing. And so with very quiet, humble gratitude that is sprinkled and fringed in elation and joy, I give thanks. And I take all of this and I release it. Oh, I do let it go. I give it back over to Spirit because I have so much more to learn, to know, to be, and allow. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank me. Thank God. I release, I let it be. Please join me together as we say, and so it is, and so I am, and so we are. Amen.